All right, part two of this video is discussing prohibitive conduct. That is conduct that's not legal under the fair housing laws. And then we're going to get into the exemptions. So let's take a look here. Prohibitive conduct. Now, the first part, I'm going to talk about the things that you cannot do that's discriminatory in nature and that's a violation of the fair housing laws based on the 1968 Fair Housing Act. Now remember, race, color, religion, and national origin were added in 1968, along with this prohibitive conduct. All right, so let's take a look here. The first one is, and you can see it on your screen, refusing to sell or rent to someone or negotiate or deal with any persons that is a member of one of those four protected classes of race, color, religion, national origin. Another one is having different terms, quoting different terms of conditions for renting or buying a house. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I owned an apartment community and I said, well, so white applicants, or white tenants, you only have to pay $500 a month, but African Americans or Catholics or Native Americans or brown skinned people, it's $600 a month. That would be treating somebody unfairly based on their membership in one of those four protected classes based on the 1968 law. Advertising that a property is available only to certain protected classes. Again, race, color, religion, or national origin. And this one here is a little bit tricky because you would say, well, wait a minute. They're advertising that a property is available to Catholics. Okay, but you're also discriminating now against those of color or those in a particular race or those of a particular national origin. So on its face, it looks like, well, hey, it's okay, but in the end, it's not. Availability, misleading about the availability of homes for sale or rent. Okay. Is the house for sale? And the owner just infers based on the conversation and the tone and the inflection of your voice that you're Caucasian. And then a Latino calls later and has an accent and the owner treats them differently. The owner gives them different terms or a different price or a different potential closing date, those type of things to try to dissuade that caller from moving forward with maybe purchasing that home. So misleading about the availability of homes for sale or rent. Blockbusting, and I talked about that in a previous video, blockbusting and panic peddling. In fact, I'm going to leave a link in the upper right-hand corner of your screen right up here, a link to that video. You might want to check that out at some point or maybe after this video is done. But blockbusting is for profit, inducing an owner to sell their property by threatening the movement of minority groups into the neighborhood. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I'm a licensed agent. I go, and I don't have to be a licensed agent, but let's just say that I am. And I go to somebody in this particular neighborhood and I say, hey, here's what's going on. There is a whole bunch of low-income housing coming into this subdivision. And you know, wink, wink, that when low-income housing comes in, the predominant minority group that lives there in low-income housing is African Americans. And you know what that's going to do to the property value. So get out while you can. And oh, by the way, I can help you do that. I'll buy your house from you. So I buy the house at a reduced price. And then the closing happens, and then I turn around and sell it for a higher price. What I've done is I've committed blockbusting. Again, my whole intent was profiting, and I induced the owner to sell by telling them that there's going to be an introduction or a movement of minority groups into the neighborhood. That is blockbusting, and that's prohibitive conduct. More prohibitive conduct under the 1968 Fair Housing Act was varying terms or conditions for home loans in an effort to discriminate. This is where a lender would say, white people, I'll give you this rate, and Latinos, I give you this rate, or Native Americans, I'll give you this rate. It's a varying term. And denying membership. Discriminating in real estate services such as the multiple listing service, such as a broker organization like the National Association of Realtors, etc., or by denying them membership or limiting their participation in that membership. Basically saying, okay, either one, I'm not going to allow you because you're a member of one of those 4 protected classes under the 1968 law, which is race, color, religion, and national origin. So let me give you an example. Let's say that the National Association of Realtors, they didn't do this, but just for the example, they said, we don't want any Catholics in our organization. So outright denying someone that's Catholic would be a violation. Or they say, listen, you can come on in and you can be a member, but you can't use our multiple listing service. That would be another example of limiting the participation of someone based on the fact that they are in one of those 4 protected classes under the 1968 federal fair housing law. All right, that was 1968's law. 1988, the Reagan administration updated the Fair Housing Act of 1968. They call it the Amendment Act of 1988. And it added not only some additional protected classes, but also some additional, this is important, additional prohibitive conduct, and it joined all the prohibitive conduct together based on all 7 protected classes. Because remember, 1968, we only had 4 protected classes, and we just talked about the prohibitive conduct. 1988, we added 2 more protected classes, which was disabilities and family status or familial status. And then we added even more prohibitive conduct and said, listen, now it's all encompassing. So we have 7 protected classes, and here are all the prohibitive conduct. So they kind of join the 2 together. So in 1988, they added higher deposits or assessing higher security deposits to disabled persons or families with children. Remember, it was totally legal to say if you had children, then we're going to charge you more, collect more security deposits. Or if you were in a wheelchair, it's a higher security deposit. That was perfectly legal until 1988. Now it is a prohibitive conduct. All right, segregation of families and those with disabilities to particular floors or sections of the communities. And then limiting service and accesses, which means denying access to all services and amenities that a condo regime may offer its residents, or all the services and amenities that an apartment community would offer its tenants. All right, so what's basically happened in 1988, they codified all 7 protected classes. So we have race, color, religion, national origin, sex, disabilities, and familial status. Then they said, here is the entire suite of prohibitive conduct, not only from 1968, but 1988. And it simply means, this is important, you cannot discriminate based on someone's membership only in a protected class. All right? That doesn't mean that you have to rent to somebody who cannot financially afford a house, or has a bad credit history or criminal background, those type of things. So those things are deemed legal, where you can discriminate legally based on legitimate business reasons, but not solely because they are a member of a protected class. Now, don't forget, there are other fair housing laws that we did not discuss in this video that you still need to know for your real estate licensing exam. One of them is this video right here, so make sure you take a look at it. And by the way, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Click the little circle to my left. I'll see you in the next video.